All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Pivot podcast. My name is Tracy, and I am again joined with my amazing co host, Mr. Dan Jansen. How are you, sir?
Doing good. We got a special guest in the house, good friend, mentor, scholar, and incredible visions on perspective as well. My boy is in the house, Matt DeLong, to share some drops of wisdom on us. What's going on, Matt?
Hey team, how are you guys doing?
It is
Very
good to have you here. Great to have you here,
Thanks.
actually.
Thanks.
So, what are we going to talk about today? What are we going to talk about today?
I think we're going to talk about Dan's elite climbing skills. And if that doesn't go well, we can talk about bots, of course.
You know what? Let's skip right to plan B. Let's just go right to plan B in this.
Automation. That's the topic of today's episode, and it is going to be a fun one. And I am fresh off this topic because I was privileged enough to just complete a mentorship with you, Matt. And so I'm super pumped, super excited about automation. And yeah, first of all, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit for the people that may be watching right now that don't know who you are, and also tell us a little bit about what automation means.
Sure. So I am a career entrepreneur. I've been trading. I was actually a customer of real life trading since 2016. So I've been a customer for many, many years, and I became a part owner of real life trading, let's say 3 or 4 years ago, and kind of helped Jeremy expand and grow to kind of where we are today. So I've done all things. I've made all the mistakes when it comes to trading. I've shorted bull runs, and I've done all the things, all the mistakes that you guys can imagine with zeros on the end. That was me. My name's Matt, and I make all the mistakes. And so I'm really good at making mistakes and figuring out what not to do. And as some of you guys know, like making mistakes is part of the process of figuring out what not to do, is then you get closer to what you should be doing. And so I've done day trading, swing trading, options, and just recently, and probably most recent few years, got into trading automation. I originally built my own stock trading platform, which is from scratch, is a very big undertaking. And if you guys can imagine having to write out every single indicator and how it's built and how it's calculated, it takes a lot of time to build all that and to maintain that. So I ended up kind of abandoning that after a couple of years and got into more of like systems trading with using MetaTrader 5. And that's kind of what I have a lot of experience doing, and building bots and placing trades, and more specifically trades and bots that can work in the RLT funded accounts program as well. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Well, that's awesome. Now, one of the things I do want to clarify right off the bat, because we are in a day and age where AI is very prominent in the discussions that are happening right now. And I want you to distinguish the difference between AI and automated trading, because there is a difference, right?
Sure. So artificial intelligence, machine learning is typically where you have like you have a software program and you run bits and pieces of data through it. And the data is designed to train, quote unquote, change the software itself to have a different behavior. So the most common example of this that everyone has probably seen is ChatGPT. It's been trained on years and years of data. So you can ask it random questions about, who the umpteenth president of the United States was, or who, what year was the War of 1812, like any of those kind of really hard questions. And it'll tell you an answer, right? And because it's been trained, and so the software learns. Trading automation, there are some elements of that does use artificial intelligence. In this case, these are algorithms that were designed and built that use kind of math-based type logic to place trades and execute specific strategies. So that is some of the differences. The MetaTrader 5 platform that I use and teach has a little bit of some machine learning and some of that, but not a whole lot at all. And so we're just fine, because like if anyone figured out how to predict future stock prices of like Tesla, they'd be a billionaire tomorrow. And I know a handful of people who've done it personally, who've spent millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions trying to get something to work. And as you guys know, it's a little bit more unpredictable than predictable at times. So, yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's been, bots have been around for a while, more so like algorithms, things like that. What is in terms of how things have developed and what are some of the advantages of using some of the bots and programs as opposed to just kind of playing with the chart yourself?
Then like doing it manually, sure.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few of them. One is you can execute orders really quickly. So a bot can make a trade, enter it, and put it out, get filled on an order quicker than you can even like recognize a pattern itself, right? So that's one thing, is the huge speed of execution. The other thing, it is emotionless. So whether you like it or not, it's going to run. Whether you've had a bad day or not, or overslept or underslept or whatever, it's going to execute those strategies. And of course, it's going to do that whether or not you've had a string of 5 losers in a row, and there's zero emotion, right? So some of you guys may feel like you've missed out on these huge trades. It's going to execute the strategy. And so that's one of the things about bots, is that it's going to do what it's designed to do as long as you allow it to run. Anyone can hit this manual stop button, of course. And I have seen that happen sometimes, where a bot maybe takes a few losing trades in a row. Someone hits pause and misses out on this huge run of winners. And so, of course, human emotion can still overwrite, automation at times if you just kind of manually let that happen. But that's really a few of the really awesome benefits. You don't really necessarily have to even understand how to actually play, how to enter trades, because the bots are doing these for you. I have a mix of semi-automated, or actually I have mostly automated bots, and I do have one semi-automated bot called the Tesla bot that you can use some discretion and throw out specific orders on specific times, and bullish, bearish, and throw out specific strategies that do the math on where to enter, where to exit, what the target price is. Target prices are set, and there's each bot has about a dozen different settings you can configure. So
Good. Now, from a perspective of a new trader, is bot trading really the place to go, or should you have some kind of understanding of how to trade before you start dabbling with bots?
yeah, so that's a great question. You probably need to have some basic understanding. You don't need like 10 years of experience, of course, but you need some basic understanding of what's happening, different types of orders. I have seen people who had no idea how to trade jump into bot trading, and like, Matt, something's wrong. It's losing money. It's made a few losses. And as any of you in the audience know, just because it's had some losses doesn't necessarily mean it's not working, doesn't mean the strategy is invalid, right? And everyone has this super microscopic view once they go live in a bot. But yeah, you have to have some basic understanding. Real life trading has a handful of courses that are an hour or two to complete for beginner swing trading, beginner day trading. Those are decent places to start to get a kind of a really basic idea of how they work, or how trading works in general, and then add automation to it as well.
Right. What
Yeah,
are some?
with
Oh,
the,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Tracy.
I was just going to say, what are some of the risks associated with bot trading that a new trader wouldn't necessarily be able to pick up that a seasoned trader might be able to pick up?
Some risks.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So I would say, like, if you get a trigger, I think Tracy, you ran into this before, is if you get a trigger, like at the closing bell to buy, and it, for whatever reason the market's closed and it didn't execute the order, when it gaps up the next day and it buys, there would be a difference in price between what the bot, where it should have bought and where it actually got executed, right? So there's those types of things that sometimes play out when it comes to being an experienced trader versus just a beginner trader. You wouldn't
Right.
necessarily recognize those. Yeah.
What about in the optimization part of things, like just to even make sure that the bot's working properly? Would you not have to have some knowledge to be able to do that?
So you do need to know how to run the tool itself that this runs in, the platform, the MetaTrader 5 platform. You do have to understand how that works. I do go through that in depth in my class, of course. But things like, if you guys can imagine like swing trading, and let's say you short Amazon the day before it has a split, right? And then the very next day you're like, I shorted at 1200 and I closed at 120. Well, you didn't really make that huge gain. The bot doesn't know the difference because it's just looking at the data that's fed to it through the broker. But those are a few anomalies that I teach you to kind of look for and spot where you're doing a deep dive of the results, so that I create what's called a justification of why I'm running this bot on this time frame using this combination of settings, so that I'm clear, out of all the hundreds of thousands or hundreds of billions of possible combinations of settings and bots and tickers and timeframes, 5-minute chart on Amazon, whatever that looks like, why I'm picked the exact specifications that I picked to run it on, whether it's a demo account, whether it's demo paper trading, or whether it's an actual funded assessment on its way to getting funded, that kind of thing. But of course, you would have to understand some of those nuances.
So we have a question from David Harris, which I think is good. He's asking, how often do you manage or retest your bots once launched?
Yeah, so I have a kind of a checklist on Saturdays that I go back and do what I call parallel testing. I don't know what it's actually called, where let's say that I have day trading or swing trading bots that run for a full week, so Monday to Friday. And on Saturday, I'm going to go back and look at what the live trades were actually placed relative to the back test over that same week to make sure they took the same trades. So I am, of course, monitoring those as well. I feel like part of a lot of brand new traders feel like the bot has all the magic and just give me the magic and I'm gonna hit the play button and it's an ATM machine and we're throwing off $100 bills every other minute, and that's not really how it works, right? So from my point of view, the bot itself is half the success formula. The other half is knowing how to operate it. Tracy, you've heard me say this before, is that the bots are kind of like fireworks sometimes, where if you're not careful, they can explode in your hand. They are dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And most people, like, you can go to different websites and buy a bot for $500, $1,000. You can go buy them, but if you don't know how they operate, how would you even know if it malfunctions? All you know is it's just randomly placing trades. You need to have a deep understanding how it works. And, kind of the strategy that it's executing has to resonate with like your personality type, right? You can go find free bots, you can go find paid bots. And I've seen a bot even as expensive as $10,000 that's been for sale, and they don't really even tell you what to run it on, right? There's no like, hey, this works amazing on gold or on stocks. It's just like, thank you for your money, good luck, right? And that's how I feel a lot of people have kind of operated in this spot space. And my strategy is the other way around. I want to teach you how to use them, and I'm just going to give you 2 or 3 or 4 bots in the class itself. And so I kind of take the other way around approach.
Right. And Dan, you've taken the class too, right?
I did. Right before yours, I think I took it. Yep.
Gotcha.
Which
All
is
right.
which is phenomenal. I think I think there's a double-sided coin to the word bot, right? So I think people are just, okay, I got this bot working for me. And you just think of like the Roomba just rolling around your house, cleaning the carpets for you, and you get home and carpet's clean. And then you have the other people who are like, oh, I hear the word bot and I don't know anything about computers. I don't know anything about technology, things like that. Having the luxury of kind of going through the course with you, and Tracy's in there now. But if you could explain to everybody else kind of how much technology background do you need to really run the bot? How easy, what is the learning curve in your opinion to really go from like, I know nothing except to how to basically turn my computer on to actually to have a bot running trading for you?
Sure. So most people start at I want to learn how to build a bot from scratch, which is not where I really recommend people start. There are certain guys like myself and others, a handful in RLT, who know how to write code or are comfortable. I've been doing it decades. Most people, that's where they want to start. And that's really where I recommend you understand how to use the software first. And then if you want to custom build, it's almost like use other people's software first and then decide to build your own custom software, right? And kind of in that order. But to answer your question, Dan, you don't really have to have a technical background. You don't have to have any computer science degrees. Well, heck, I don't have any degrees myself. And you really just, as long as you can follow directions and click buttons and understand the basics of how to interact with the software tool, it's going to work. It's going to work well. I've had 18-year-old kids go through the class. I've had probably 87-year-old grandmothers go through it, and everyone in between. But it's really you're just running it's kind of like a piece of software that you're running, and you're just clicking like a go live button, and it's running and it's operating and it's watching the stock chart it's deployed on. And that's really all it's doing. It's throwing out trades when it sees a specific setup or specific strategy that it's designed and built to look for, whether that's moving average crossovers or a break above or below certain types of candles. They're all a little bit different, but that's how it works. You don't have to be a super data science. Well, I kind of think of you and I teach you how to be like a data scientist, but you don't have to be you don't have to be an uber nerd or anything. So
Gotcha.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a testimony because I did just complete your course, and I do have a little bit of coding experience. I have some trading experience, but I've never traded with a bot. I've never used the MetaTrader 5 platform, and I can guarantee that the progress that you make in your class, you walk us through systematically, how to set up the MetaTrader 5 platform, how to, install your bot, how to optimize the bot, how to test the bot, how to look for different settings, how to get the bot working. And you also provide us with an assessment account during the mentorship, which gives us an opportunity to practice with no real money at risk. So all of those processes go through. I can tell you that by the end of it, I felt very comfortable with the entire process going forward. And I think that it was laid out very well that just about anybody that takes the class would definitely come out feeling the same way as I did. So
thank you for sharing that.
So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you kind of alluded to it too, where there's other people that have bots and they make bots, things like that. Again, bot is just kind of a generalized term though, right? So it's really only as good as what you put into it as far as strategies and things like that, because if you're trading a strategy that doesn't work ever, it's going to be really hard for the bot to make any type of money. So
Sure.
You have some strategies that you back tested, things like that. Number one, and well, I'll answer this question. So it's back testing as opposed to back trading.
Mm-hmm.
As people without bots or people that are familiar with just kind of day trading themselves, they're familiar with the back trading portion. What is back testing, and what is how would you apply that to really see if a strategy is even worth it to kind of chase?
Sure. So some of you guys are familiar with like the overall Momo strategy that Real Life Trading talks about. We teach it in depth in like the 90-day course, but let's imagine there's a bot we'll call it the Momo bot, and it executes the Momo strategy, right? Now it does take advantage of trends, and if a stock is not trending, it's gonna lose. So imagine a stock that doesn't trend well that you're gonna run it on, and in that case, it would probably lose, right? Because you're looking for specific trends to occur and to continue for some period of time. It doesn't necessarily mean that the stock has to go in the same direction 3 days in a row, but we're trying to exploit what those trends are. And so a back test is an automated simulation where I say, I want to run this strategy, Momo, across Tesla on last year's time frame on a X minute chart, 15 minute, 30 minute, 1 hour, whatever time frame. And I'm going to see what works the best, right? And I have a few options there based different time frames. But I'm also able to run a test and say, hey, I want to look at what are all the different time frames that are available to me, and I want to run a test on Tesla on a 5 minute, a 6 minute, a 8 minute, a 10 minute, a 12 minute, a 15 minute, a 30 minute, a 1 hour, 2 hour, and I want to run a huge list of tests, the same exact strategy, but on a whole bunch of different time frames to see which one works the best, right? And so we're approaching it like a data scientist, where you have a theory and you're trying to prove which, what's better, A or B, A, B, C, or D. And the back test will literally go through and run thousands of back trades, back tests. Usually it takes a few minutes. The more things you're testing, the longer it's going to take. And so you can literally run a test. So let's say NVIDIA, even for example, what works better, a 30-minute or a 4-hour chart? Well, I know the answer to that. Tracy knows the answer to that, but someone who's doing this manually may not know which one works better. And wouldn't it be awesome if you could have some data result that helps you make decisions? My previous company was a customer of Google, and Google was a customer of ours. And I got to fly out and see their headquarters in around 2008. And they had this idea of data-driven decision making. I'd never heard that phrase before. I'm like, what the heck does that mean? It sounds cool. right? And the idea of I'm going to make decisions based on the data that's collected. The data is going to tell me a story, and I'm just going to listen to that story. Whatever happens, good, bad, I'm going to follow whatever the results are. And the same exact thing happens when you're running a back test. So you can run tons of tests, but which one works best? And it's, of course, a historical look. You are making some assumptions that it's going to continue or be similar in the future. But that's kind of how I even like, why do I like to use Roku on a certain time frame? Why do I like Tesla on a certain time frame? Why do I like NVIDIA on a different time frame? It's all based on those types of results that you're running a back test that takes a few minutes to run, and you can run it 6 or a dozen different ways, and it helps give us those answers of what to run it on. And that, of course, helps give us some confidence and justification of running it live in the future. So.
Now, drawdown is one of the things that you need to work around when you're dealing with the funded account. But MetaTrader 5 has the ability to connect to other platforms, correct?
It does.
Yeah. So the bots and the bot training that you're teaching, you could potentially do that with one of your own brokers. You don't necessarily have to do it through the funded account. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can send money to, there's hundreds of brokers that support MetaTrader 5. If you have that pesky 5% drawdown limitation, you wanted more of a free spirit type account that you didn't have those limits, you use your own money, then yeah, you can absolutely do that.
Great. So the benefit for somebody that doesn't want to use a funded account, they would still get that from coming to your course or your class. Exactly. and getting that. So that's a great opportunity. Plus the bots that you create. Now, the other question that I had for you is, how often do you think bots stop working and you need to potentially look for a new bot?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know that there is an answer to how often they start working. There are certain seasons where we'll say they tend to work better than others, right? So like right now the market's we're selling off right last day or two, and so as long as that continues the trend, it's going to be fine. But if it's up one day, down the next, up, right, those types of environments, certain bots work better in those environments versus others. And so it's not that they do or don't work and they have to stop working, as much as certain environments tend to be more friendly. Like if you can imagine, flying a kite, obviously it's going to work great when it's windy, but when it's too windy, it's not going to work. Or when it's not windy enough, it's not going to work. There's certain environments where it tends to work a little better. And that's really, you just have to understand how the strategies work, how the bots operate. And a little secret is the bots don't actually make money. The bots execute the strategy, and the strategy makes the money, right? And so that's a little insight. Yeah.
Right. Now you have a checklist that you go through, and you do things weekly, monthly, all that kind of stuff. So I'm curious, what kind of leeway or benchmarks or flags are you looking for that might indicate, hey, you know what, something's a little bit different? Like, do you operate within an amount of parameter of leeway that it can be losing or gaining before it sends a little flag to you that says, hey, something might be wrong?
It's hard. I don't really have like rigid rules like that. But for example, if you were to run a back test on NVIDIA on a 4-hour chart using like Momo on the standard default settings, it would show you like a 3.5% drawdown, right? And so using something like that, I've been running Momo this year, same thing on NVIDIA, and it made a nice win, followed by a short over earnings. And some of you guys may know what happened over earnings on NVIDIA. It actually gapped up. Well, that exact behavior was a little more. I was like 3/4 of the way to getting that account funded, and it did, make a huge move in the account and against me. Of course, it is what it is. And so in that case, that was kind of an unexpected behavior. It doesn't mean the strategy or the whole thing is invalid. It just, in that case, over earnings. So if you run a 1-year test over NVIDIA, you're going to have 4 different earnings periods, right? So once a quarter, you can assume 4. And that 5th one just happened to go the wrong way, right?
Just unlucky,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have, but I've made plenty of money over Roku going in the right direction, being short or long over earnings and continuing huge in that same direction over earnings. So again, those are all things that bots will help you understand and tell you. But there is, of course, some anomaly where probability would say, imagine having like a 1 in 100 chance of something occurring, and that you just happen to hit that one time. It just 99 times out of 100, it would have worked the other way, and it just didn't work out, which is fine. We're all playing probabilities. This is not a guaranteed game, unfortunately. I wish it was guaranteed, but it's not. So.
Now you said that you have like a trending bot, like the Momo bot, which is a trending bot, and you have the Tesla bot, which you mentioned. Which one's your favorite? Just out of curiosity.
I have a love-hate relationship with both of them. I do. I'm working on some other bots right now that specifically trade just gold. Gold has some interesting moves that I've observed, trying to execute and exploit strategies on those. But I don't know. It's like, which of your two children are your favorite? I don't know that I could pick.
I can tell you right away which one's mine. Yeah.
That's funny. So then who is this best for? Like who would be really good at utilizing bot trading?
So I would say it's for traders who have maybe they have haven't maybe traders that are struggling to be consistent, right? Where they sometimes execute the plan, other times they just fall off the wagon. So I feel like it's for maybe traders who are struggling, traders who are very emotional all over the place, making decisions. Maybe traders who don't think they have what it takes. Maybe they struggle with trading for years and think, man, something is just not right, and I just can't seem to figure it out. Or maybe freezing it when you see red in the account, not knowing what to do, or consistently losing money. So those are the types of traders that typically flock to this type of a tool. I won't mention his name, but there's several people in the RL community who were like this close away from, been with us for years and this close, like I just can't seem to get it. And I'm like, well, before you quit, let me put you in my class for free. Let's see if you feel the same way. And I like unleash the beast in several people who like, wow, I found my new passion in life, Matt. Thank you. And I was ready to quit. And, you gave me something new to kind of latch onto, and they're just taking off and getting accounts funded, and like a whole new world has been open to them. So,
Yeah, I can see also people, even one successful traders who just want something else running in the background. And I think having multiple accounts and things, just if you have a bad day trading, but you know what, the bot made some money, it kind of helps correct the mindset a little bit.
Sure.
And then I think other people too that probably could benefit a lot is because being a day traders time consuming, right? You have to be there watching the charts all the time. But if people have day jobs and careers or kids to take to school, and where you don't have access that somebody else might, you do have this bot kind of running in the background, and some trades that you might have missed, you're now kind of able to capitalize. So I think there is definitely multiple avenues for people that I think the bot trading might be of interest to.
Well, and for someone like me, I'm interested in additional side gigs. So I'm trading full time. I'm also doing swing trading on the side, but it's nice to add an additional set of eyes and hands to execute some additional funds elsewhere. Now, Matt, what would you say is a minimum kind of account balance that you would recommend for individuals that are wanting to get into bot trading?
So really, in order to get started, you really don't even need an account. I do give you a paper trading account, but the minimum like real life trading offers is like a 50K account. So for $500, you can get a 50K funded account just to get started there and start growing some accounts. I've seen, I have several. I have accounts of all sizes: 50K, 100, 200, 500K. At varying levels of getting funded, and I have some accounts that have already been funded. And so you really don't need to have a lot of money. And that's what a lot of people are like, oh, I need at least $25,000, aka the minimum for day trading in the US. And that's not necessarily the case because we give you a funded account that has 50K, and that only costs you $500. And so this, I don't yet have what it takes to get started, is actually, it's not necessarily the case in that situation where you really, you don't even need an account. I can give you a paper trading account just to get started. in the class itself. So, but that's the short answer. There isn't really a minimum short of just the $500 to get into a 50K account. So.